Wanted to introduce myself. We'll get going here. Brittany, Batchelor from Kargo. We're a creatively driven SSP. And what that is, right, is it's rich media advertising on premium supply across all devices. So in short, that's what it is. But really my most important role is mommy to Lillian Batchelor. She's 17 months old. And it was great connecting with John because, I've learned a lot from your experiences with your daughter. And so would love to open it up to you for your introduction.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for hanging out. Anybody at the bar, if you want to take a seat, or in a minute, we'll explain why there's cookies over there. But yeah, when Brittany and I were talking, it kind of quickly went like personal chatting and kids and things. And I introduced myself earlier and said my favorite role, my favorite title is dad. I have 3 kids. And my youngest is my daughter, and my boys know that she's my favorite. And to kind of bring it around, we really do need, in fact, where's Pearl? Pearl? Some events, we need to actually have a fireball, like a fire crackling, and kind of a camp experience. Because as we started talking, what's that? Oh, it's not dangerous. Well, alcohol and fires and people wandering around might be a little dangerous. But as we were talking, we were telling different stories and about kids and family. And I remember being on corners during the season is now with Girl Scout cookies and selling cookies and supporting my daughter. But here's the thing I learned. So if anybody actually does do a little bit of camping in your backyard or not, here is a life hack. If you've ever tried to do s'mores before, that literally will change your life. And it wasn't that many years that I learned about this. So the cookies over here are Samoas. They have chocolate and some caramel and other good things on them. But there's a little hole. There's a hole in the middle. So this is what you do. Super life-changing. You take your s'more stick and you put a Samoa down at the bottom, so it's by your hands. It's by your hands where you'll be holding it. You put your marshmallow on that stick, and now you roast your marshmallow. And when that marshmallow is ready, you push up the one on the bottom, another on top. There's no like breaking a graham cracker. Chocolate's too thick, it's not melting. And I guarantee you it would be the best s'more of your life. All right? So, life changer, the best s'more from Girl Scouts and a Samo cookie. And thank you for bringing so many boxes. And
of course.
So please grab one on your way out. Go change your life.
So yeah, I think one thing that we were talking about, right, were our daughters, right? That is why people, are working so hard and coming to South by, trying to learn from other brands. You and your daughter have a unique story in terms of biking and the influence of just who you are as a person. Again, our topic is human-to-human marketing. So just would love to hear a little bit about that in terms of how sports have played such a critical role with you and your daughter, and then we'll get into the AT&T side.
Yeah, it's a great question. I do want to talk about the AT&T side too, since I think most people would be probably more interested in that. But throughout my life, I've spent a lot of time in the outdoors and cycling and backpacking and things. But my best experience was owning a tandem bike. I tried to get my wife to do the tandem bike with me, and we went like down the street once, and then we both decided that was a really bad idea. It requires like really clear, consistent communication, and you can't, if you turn your head and look weird ways, it's bad. So we've been married for a lot of years, and we're fine, but we are not going to ride a tandem bike together. But my daughter, who was in her teens at the time, thought it'd be fun to hop on, and we went around and did rallies, and we're actually interviewed. There's a bike race called Hotter Than Hell in August up in North Texas, and it is literally hotter than hell. And we were interviewed by the NBC affiliate, and my daughter just puts me in tears. They're asking her, how was it to ride? And she says a few things. She says, but I just pedal. I trust my dad. We're just going to have a good time. And it's that sentiment of having spent lots of years with her, and that my title as dad being most important, that honestly makes me the marketer that I am. It's all about It's all about that relationship. It's all about really understanding, like stopping and listening, accepting that you're wrong, that you got the trend wrong. That also helps in a relationship overall anyway. But it's made me who I am.
So with that, I mean, we are talking about human-to-human marketing, and you heard from Olipop. They're doing a ton with influencers. A lot of brands, that's where they're really dialed in, is in that social media space. But there are tried and true marketing models that have worked, right? You don't have to have 1 million followers and be a size 0 to really, you don't, as a brand, have to go after all those folks to move the needle. And we have a model that we're going to pull up here that's pre-social blow up, circa 2008, you would say.
It's been a few years, and if it comes up, I'm a little embarrassed by it, and also proud of it. I've had many a colleague that have ripped this, but there was a small social team, we called ourselves at the time, when I was at Microsoft, and we were, if you were listening to the last panel and talking about how you go to the CFO and build support for something else, we actually had worked on this in that case because the majority of the spend was happening in places that, as an organization, you could, at the time, easily measure, or were measures they were familiar with, and things that could be controlled. I can control the advertising. I have scripts, and I do casting, and I carefully select all of the people, and then I can edit it, and I can change anything I want. And that's important because I am a brand and I know exactly who I am and what I want people to say, and that's what I'm going to portray to the world. And on the flip side, as you go up to the top of that model, the places, the things that actually or where your brand is defined, or where people make a purchase decision, is when somebody you know or somebody you trust or respect says, I love that beverage. I love that phone. AT&T really is better than T-Mobile. And I hope people would say that. I've been customers of both, long story. But those are the things that really make the difference. And why some of these things are like a little old, like the model still exists. But it's been interesting as we're talking, and even some of the things that we've done together, we are a Kargo customer. There are like more ways now to do both.
Do you mind giving everyone an example? We are working together, and one of those examples is the AT&T guarantee. Can you walk people? You mentioned in your last panel, and we're really talking now about flipping the script, right?
Yeah.
Flipping the funnel, going after that human-to-human connection. Can you give an example or talk through that?
Yeah, for sure. So the context is in case you didn't know, there are a handful of wireless companies out there that'll sell you the same phone. I don't know if you knew that or not. Like, you get an iPhone from everybody, right? So just level setting there. But in that kind of saturated market, why do you choose one over the other? We thankfully as an industry are beyond coverage maps, but we're not beyond as an industry, more promotions, and we'll give you this for free, that for free, and there's no contract, but there kind of is, and what is my bill, all those things like that. That's the space that we're in, very saturated market. Some of you work in saturated markets. So what we have been working on and what we announced back in January, that is core to who we are, is what we call the AT&T guarantee. We guarantee that you will have service. And proactively, if you happen to, your service isn't working on a particular day, something happens, but you may not even realize that there was a small outage, because the secret is there are outages in networks of all different types. They happen. Some of them are nanoseconds, some of them are a few minutes, some of them are longer. But the first part of that is we guarantee that service, and we will credit your account proactively if we haven't done our part. The next piece of that is that we absolutely guarantee that everyone gets the best deal. How many times have you been out trying to buy something, and this is not just part of our industry, where you're like, am I really getting the best deal on that car? Or you're going online, you're searching for a coupon code, you're like, I know there's something here, I'm not getting it, and they're hiding it from me. Like, we guarantee everyone gets it. New or existing customer, like, we will put that in front of you. We will proactively, if you're a customer, will come back and say, hey, there's something better that is for you. And the last one is service. If you have a problem, you reach out, something's wrong, something's broken, we will fix it same day, or if it's at the end of the day, we'll fix it within 24 hours. So trying to do something that really differentiates us. It might be seemingly simple, but the experience or service is a place where there's always room to differentiate, especially in saturated markets.
And would you say that really hits on the bringing your customer to be a friend? Like, they trust you, it's a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I don't know all of our customers by name, right? And we don't, right? It's like a big company, of course. Doing something that is like what you would expect from somebody that you trust, or that somebody that you trust, or even a friend, is somebody that does something for you without you having to go and complain about it. Right? That's your friends. If you have people that really, you don't reach out, that don't, even acknowledge your birthday. Sorry, Knox in the front row. We were sitting at lunch and I didn't even realize it was his birthday, and I still owe him. I said tacos. You had free tacos this morning. Oh, you're nice, a nicer dinner. But that's what feels better. Even if you don't think about it, but someone proactively doing something on your behalf that takes something out of their pocket. That's being more human not just in the marketing, but also just as a brand.
So you and we were talking, right? There's crazy schedules. We're both very busy people. And so even as a friend, right, you have to put the effort in. You have to, right, throw a nice dinner party to get them to come over. So I view that a little bit like creative for a brand, right? That is your invitation to the client to come, click, and explore more. So from a creativity perspective, can you talk through what AT&T is doing from a creative perspective? What is that invitation?
Yeah. Any creators up here? Anybody who creates content, support somebody creating content? I'm sure there are quite a few of us. There was a study, it was released last year at Cannes by a research group called WARC, W-A-R-C, and they had looked across several countries in Western Europe and some in North America. And this is a B2B point from the panel earlier, and it was upwards of 90% of B2B advertising drove no emotional response whatsoever. Like none.
A terrible invitation.
Right? Like none. And I am sure that if you looked across all brands of all types, just broadly consumer, you would find that. And I think there is a lot of laziness in our industry. I will admit to doing some lazy work over the years as well, where we get together and we're like, all right, I'm like giving you my first party data, and I've got another data provider, and we're going to use this DCO platform. We're going to customize creative up. And it shows up in somebody's feed, and the thumb keeps scrolling by. Because we thought, well, I'm Meta or Google or whoever, or Kargo is selling me your eyeballs, and therefore you are going to pay attention. There's your 90% number. I imagine the consumer number is really high. So if you are not thinking through, like, how do I earn that attention? How do I earn the slowing down of that thumb scrolling, and realize here's the business that we're really in. We are all in the business of interrupting people. which we talk about human is like not the kind of human you want to be. The person who's always interrupting somebody with something seemingly random and maybe oftentimes forgettable. So if you flip that and go, okay, I think that I'm working with the right people, I've got the right technology investment, I'm working with the right partners, so that I have the right message, or maybe I'm in the right place at the right time with the right audience. How do I get the right message? And it rarely is going to be price, promotion, speeds, and feeds. It's the recognition to where I was going earlier on the B2B comment is everyone's a human being. Like all of us in interruption business are competing with the things that people were there to do first. You're on Instagram, you're not there to look at an ad. But there are some that are incredibly relevant, like, oh, that's actually interesting me. But the majority, we all know, right, are like, get out of my way. Get out of my way. And when we see these companies are having a hard time at the end of the quarter, and it seems like every other placement is an ad, like, come on, folks. So we've worked a ton to completely flip that script. And I'd say the campaigns that we have been running, and particularly for small business over the last couple of years, have been all built with emotion, with entertainment, with value. That's a good exchange. And we integrate ourselves in. It's some placement, but first and foremost, we want to pay off that disruption. And I have to tell you, it is working like gangbusters. Like, it is just a complete shift. And where my CFO conversations were like, offer, offer, offer. And I'm like, hey, like, look at this. When I go to offer, 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 actually my whole entire funnels don't exist, but my whole funnel actually starts to break down. But when I pay off that interruption, and when I give people something of value, something that makes people maybe laugh or smile or have some emotional response, when I show up with an offer, I've earned that. And they're driving through, purchase consideration goes up, and my sales contribution goes up.
I feel like Kargo, just to plug it, right? Contextually aligned, right? And beautiful creative.
You want me to plug it? I can plug it. You don't have to plug it. So one of the things we really love on the Kargo side is premium placements and an awesome creative team. It's not just your flat, I don't know, sort of the chrome around your content, but really built in a really, really smart way. When we want to do something that's like next level, that's how you are known within our halls.
I love it.
So.
Well, and I love to throw a good dinner party and put a good invitation out there. And so I think we definitely show up from a creative perspective. You mentioned it in terms of interruption. You go to a site, there's a ton of ads on that site. eMarketer just came out with a study about MFA sites. And then we also, Adlytics just came out with a study. And that study was actually all about the image curation sites. And so, of course, Kargo did get a perfect score on both, but from a brand safety, okay, we're done plugging.
Now you're pitching.
We're done plugging. But from a brand safety perspective, right, we all talk about how influencers, that is a great way, right, for that human to human connection. And then when you get into the web space, or even, the social space has its brand safety concerns, but from a web perspective, right, that exists as well, and people are becoming more aware of it. How is AT&T looking at brand safety to make sure your beautifully designed invite/creative gets seen in a brand safe way?
All right. What would be the official PR approved response? Be something about, we take this very seriously. It's super important. And it is. It sometimes can be a bit of a crutch, or a way of confining ourselves to places that where we're not as creative as we can be. But there are increasingly ways to be both brand safe, which we absolutely need to be. Some of that is like not being on certain platforms or at certain times. In particular, there might be issues and things going on just in the public sphere. They're like, you know what? We just need to take a step back. This isn't the right time for us to be interrupting people where we would show up adjacent, you have no idea where that's going to be. And so we do that quite a lot, like being just really thoughtful. Things will come in and out. It's also working with partners that are taking that extra seriously. The perfect score, I was kind of joking, like it is super important. If you go and do an audit of where your ads are showing up, it's always like opening Pandora's box, or like nesting dolls. Like there's more. And you have to take a clean look at that. Part of what we're also like interested in doing is trying to bring more creators just right into our work. It's been fun over the last couple of years to actually cast creators into the advertising that we're doing. They bring audiences with them, and super excited to be on a real production set versus walking around town with their own camera rig and maybe a friend who's there for free beer for the day to do other things. And it's a way of merging sort of top and bottom of that model, as well as all of that being in a brand safe way.
Absolutely. Well, we all know, yes, you have to check your box on brand safety and definitely contextually align. Creative is the most fun part about what we do, right? Whether it's what influencers are creating or what you're creating on web pages. What is something to look forward to for 2025? We talked about AT&T Guarantee, but is there any other secret sauce or secret campaign coming up, since we're not recorded, that you could share with everyone?
Yeah, since we're not reporting, I share all of it. Last year, so this is my tip into what's coming. Last year, we brought together more of the. We did a reunion of many of the Office cast members. Rainn Wilson, Jenna Fisher, Craig, Jenna, like a group of them together to help them start a business. And they all played or were there as themselves and were contributing to a business. There actually was a product. We didn't sell it. We actually gave away several hundred of these. It was a talking pillow. And imagine Rainn Wilson being your ASMR voice to go to sleep. And all the antics of this group of people. If you want to go check it out, you can see all the stuff. It's on the URL is sleepwithrain.com. Go check it out. And as you would imagine, these are all creators that they all co-wrote The Office. And they're all super creative. And we went to them and we're like, we want to do something around small business. Here are some ideas. What ideas you have? And we collaborated with them. And this is my wink into what's coming, but or continuing, but also like something that we uncovered that really worked. And that's really to partner with creators. They don't have to be Hollywood known talent. And let them create. Don't go to them with like, here's what we want you to say. Go to them and say, here's roughly what we're trying to accomplish. Could we do something together? And it meant there was more work and time, and I had to get our C-suite on board with, here's the concept that we started with, and here's where it's going. And then it was changing on production where none of those people are there, and I get to walk back and be like, I know I told you we were going to do this, but this is where we're going. Anyway, that campaign that started with a 7-minute mini episode, as well as a bunch of other content, we actually were in like the 100 million view range before we ever turned on advertising. Because there's so much fandom around that show, some things we did on various places. So it was one very clear example of where you can pay off the interruption. And there's still, almost a year later, there's still a huge interest in that content. So who knows? We might continue some of that and build on some of the trends and stuff that you're hearing about today.
Cool. Well, we do have a little bit of time. If anyone would like to ask John a question, we'll open it up.
Or Brittany a question?
Yes. Yes, in the front. Pedro.
Go, Pedro.
Sorry.
Pedro's
I
the
think he's
man.
over his quota. He might be over his quota on questions.
Hey, Pedro's showing up. He's here.
I mean, I came
Front
from
row.
Brazil. I took a 10-hour flight. I'm not going to waste the opportunity to ask questions. That's it. But the thing is, it's kind of the same question I did before, but you said something that really struck with me, which is the relevance of your messaging is what pays the price of interaction. And this is like brilliant. How do you know what is relevant beforehand? Like, you have to tap into something. When you have something like The Office, kind of easy. But how about the daily stuff? How do you know this is what will be relevant?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll touch on The Office quickly, and then I'll bounce back and answer your question. So, it didn't have to be that group of people. We had a really researched, clear insight about the small business, the segments of small business companies out there that we wanted to be the provider of. And we spent our time there before we ever went to how we were going to go and execute. And so you've got to be grounded in the prospective customer that you want. And it's not good enough, in my opinion, to just look at third-party research. It's not good enough, although incredibly informative, to sit down with the partners that you'd meet at an event like this or that you're going to follow up with, because there is a vast amount of knowledge and learning. Like, you should absolutely do that. Absolutely do that. But even in a world where AI may help you get to some of those initial data points faster, if you aren't looking your customer or prospective customer in the eye and really having an understanding on a human to human level, you're gonna miss things. You're gonna miss things. And so that's my hack. When it comes to small business, there's like 5 small businesses like in my immediate family. I grew up in a small business household. I've seen my parents work 24/7, 7 days a week. My wife is a therapist and runs a counseling practice for helping couples and individuals. Fascinating conversations around my dinner table. And it's made me a better listener. I'm not a great listener, but a better listener. Anyway, that's like getting that one-on-one interaction to make sure that the research and what you get the insight is really, really clear. Creatives will do their best job if you are crystal clear on who you're speaking to, what matters to them, and not a big long list. Like, what's the one most important thing? You do that, and that's always a recipe for success.
I feel like we do keep talking about, right? It's the human to human interaction, like figure out what people care about and hit them there. Really do think about the Girl Scouts. They're hitting you right when you're walking into the grocery store. You're hungry, right? Like, they really do a very good job at that. So it's funny that we keep bringing this up. You hear from AT&T, right? And even models that you saw here that were circa 2008, they still apply. And it is because it is that human to human interaction. I think we have time for one more question, and then we'll close it on up.
Hello. Question about the changing like B2B brand perception. Totally agree that we do sometimes take kind of lazy route. And that has built some level of perception with our existing clientele, right? Maybe like this nameless, boring. When you start changing your creative direction, did you just go straight like cold plunge? I'm like, sup, we're the new brand. or there had to be any kind of pre-priming to change that perception of your brand as a B2B partner?
Yeah, I'd say there is no pre-priming. Like, make sure you understand who you're speaking to and what resonates with them, and then why would you not immediately be more relevant? You can think about what is your tone. Like, if you've been known to be, I don't know, maybe it's the last session, Sina was talking about, her role coming into a bank. Does that bank, and I'm just assuming that there is some big pivot that she and that company decide to make. You've got existing customers that you need to care for, so maybe there is a progression over time. My company before coming to AT&T that had been really built on early tech adopters, and their excitement really was trying to go more mainstream. They had a couple very specific areas they wanted to grow in. And part of my job was leading all of our social content, the whole social team at the time. And I said, please give us 6 months and we can pivot. And it was very thoughtful progression. So how we don't leave the early adopters, or just think your customers, you don't leave them thinking, wait a second, who is this company that I thought I knew? But that you bring them along, and maybe you've got to have things that still care for them in the way that you were before, but you can never too quickly start being relevant at that level if that's your ask.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Next time, maybe we will have a fire. It is 40 degrees outside.
This is right. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming.